Page 120, Siman Lamed Vov, Sif Base. Okay, we were just talking about how to form the letters. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Sif Base, Kol Ois Tzrich Olihiyos Goylem Echad. Every letter has to be one made of one piece. Has to be, all the parts have to be attached together. The right part, the top right part of the aleph, which looks like a yud, and he's going to say all these things have to touch the body of the letter. But also the bottom left part of the aleph, which is also a yud attached to the body of the aleph. All the yudim and branches of the shin, ayin, and tzadi. So you know those boys, they all have to touch the main body of the letter. If even in one letter in the Teffillen, it's one of the parts of the letter is not touching the main body of the letter, even if it's just in one letter, the whole pair of Teffillen is possible. Not the whole pair, but the bias that it's in. Right? We said that the Teffillen Shadiyad and Shemon Rosh are not the two separate mitzvahs. So if one is possible, then the other one's still kosher. This is true of all the other letters. Chutz me-hei v'kuf. Hei v'kuf, she'ein liga horega b'gag v'noga posel. With hei and kuf is the other way around. Not just that the legs do not have to touch the body of the letter, but the other way around is true. That if they did touch the letter, then the posel. Right? The hei and the kuf must not touch. Let's see Sif Gimel. Continues the Shulchan Aruch, Sif Gimel. Tzorach l'tayig shatnez gets. These letters, shatnez gets, shin, ayin, tes, nun, zayin, gimel, tzadi. All these letters, right, have to have tagim, crowns on the letters. Right? This is true that two of the letters here, the nun and the tzadi, are both the regular nun and tzadi and the final letters, and the nun tzadi, the final nun and the final tzadi. All those letters. So it's actually 9. Right? Here there's 7, but there's actually 9 because nun and tzadi there's a double. Right? These 9 letters all have to have tagim, crowns on the letters. Right? They have a triple crown. Right? Triple crown. Right? Looking like this. Right? The middle crown goes slightly higher than the other two. Right? That's the crowns of the letters. Sofim al noiheg to add some crowns onto other letters. We'll talk in a minute what they are exactly. If you didn't put any crowns on any of the letters, then it's not possible. We're going to see in a minute the MISHNA Berura on this. Okay, so in shatnez gets there 3 crowns on each letter. We're going to talk very soon about exactly where to put it on the letter. He says the sofim are note to be taig oisus acheres. The other is that the simon is bedek chayo. Bedek, beis dalet kuf, chayos ches yud hey. Those letters all have 1 crown. That's the minhag, is to put 1 crown on those letters. Bedek chay, beis dalet kuf, ches yud hey. Let's have a look at the MISHNA Berura. I want to start from on the left column on page 120 on the first page we were reading. On the left column of the MISHNA Berura, about halfway down. A little before halfway. Minus 3 words before the end of the line. It starts with Tiuk Shel Shatnez. Shatnez is the last word of the line. There's a full stop and then Tiuk Shel Shatnez, yeah? Tiuk Shel Shatnez gets Hu B'shin Shel Rosh HaShlishi. Where do we put the crown? Put it on the 3rd head of the letter Shin. Uba'ayin v'tes v'tzadi arosh hashmoli, and ayin, tes, and tzadi on the left head. So on all of them, Shin, ayin, tes, and tzadi, all of them, the crown goes on the left head. Yad bikein be'emtzi isoy loy b'soifoy, and he should put it in the middle of the letter, not in the end, right? In the middle of the left head. Right? The other heads are all made round. Right? The left head is a square head to put the crown on. The other heads are rounded. Right? The others are rounded so that they're not. One can't put a crown on it. Kosov achronim b'shem tshuvas harama. Shizoi shiyu hatagin nifrodin kol echad mechaveiroi. Kedei shelo yiru rak tmunas zayin v'lo yikayin v'shin uleikuvahu. This is very important. The Rama says that the tagin have to be separated from each other. They must be touching. These are problems that can easily happen if there's a little bit of a smudge. Teffillen after spending a long time in the bias, things can, or if it gets smudged at the time of writing, the tagin can touch. Right? We have 3 tagin next to each other. They're in very close proximity. The smaller the writing, the closer the tagin are going to be together. You have to be very careful that the tagin don't touch each other. And if they touch, there's a MISHNA Berura, it's ma'akiv le'ikuvahu. It passes a tefillen. So it's very important that the tagin don't touch. It's also very important that the tagin touch the letter. And this is also a very common problem. That over time, if even a tiny bit of the tag at the bottom gets worn out, it can touch the letter in a very thin connection. If that flakes off or gets worn out, then it's not touching the letter. The tagin are not touching the letter, they're possible. Even though we saw the Shulchan Aruch said that if there are no crowns, the letters are kosher. This is worse, this situation where there are crowns, but the crowns are not touching the letter, this is worse than not having any crowns in the first place. Having no crowns is kosher. Crowns that are there but they're not touching is possible. Why? To have a kisur and ois ketana ben ashitim. It's like you've added another letter. The crown is not touching the letter. You have an additional letter between the lines. The tag in each tie actually looks like a little zayin, and also known as ziyunin, zayin. It's looks like a little zayin because it's made of a I don't know what to call it, a line pointing upwards with a little head on top. So it looks like a zayin, right? It's like a little zayin. So it's like having a little zayin between the rows. You've got added extra letters into your tefillin. Right? Between the lines you have extra letters. Therefore, the tagin have to touch, and it's lekuva. So the other time you can't even afterwards, if you find the mistake, you can't even just connect it to the letter. You have to rub out the tag and rewrite it. It says if you know that it was written by a very top quality sofer, then it's okay. Then you know that when it was originally written, it was written accurately. It was written and it was originally touching the letter. It got separated afterwards, and in which case one can correct it without rubbing out the tag. And this is no worse than the problem of hakofas kavil, when a letter is not completely surrounded by parchment. And therefore it's only makiv if it happens at the beginning, at the time of writing. And therefore, says the Levushei Srad, if originally it was connected at the time of writing, the crown was connected to the letter, and it got separated afterwards, the Levushei Srad holds that it's kosher, it doesn't even need to be corrected. So therefore, one can definitely, if it happened afterwards, the Mishnah says one can definitely correct it, one does not have to rub out the zayin. If it got separated afterwards, one can just connect it. However, the Mishnah says it is still better to be machmir for the Yad Ephraim, which is to rub out the tag and rewrite it. Okay? So, and the tagim can cause big problems. The Mishnah says if the tagim are connected, then it's possible. If the tagim are disconnected, if it happens at the time of writing, one definitely has to rub out the tag and rewrite it. One can't just add it. And if it happened afterwards, then one can connect it, but preferably one should rewrite the tag. Now the Chazon Ish has a more lenient opinion on this. He says the Chazon Ish writes he says the tagin ein ma'akvin. He says that most of the poskim don't write that it's ma'akiv, and therefore he says that they're not ma'akiv, even if they're not connected correctly. V'nikir hadov shein tagei ois kosher u'kedin hefsek bois atzmei. So the Chazon Ish says that if there's only just a small gap between the tag and the letter, and it's quite clear that the tag, the crown, is shaykh, belongs to this letter, even though it's not connected, you can clearly see that there's a gap. But it's just a very small gap. It's quite clear that this is not a zayin between the lines. It's quite clear that this is part of the crown of the letter. Says the Chazon Ish is okay. Okay, so the Chazon Ish is slightly more lenient opinion on it. This is a very difficult job for the Magia. Right? When one gives one's Teffillen to be checked by the Magia, the person who checks the Teffillen, this is one of the things he's going to have a good look at each and every tag, each and every crown of each letter, to make sure that each one is connected properly. He's going to have a good look to make sure that there's no even a hair breadth of parchment separating the tag from the letter.
Does he have to do this with his bare eye, or can he use a magnifying glass?
He does this. He can use a magnifying glass to help him. It makes it easier for him to look. But at the end of the day, when it comes to deciding if it's connected or not connected, that goes by the bare eye. Right? If you can see a gap with the magnifying glass, but it's not visible with the naked eye, then it's not a problem. But they can use magnifying glasses because it makes it easier. It's less strenuous on the eyes. It makes everything bigger. So they do use magnifying glasses. Let's continue. And let's have a look at MISHNA Berura Cotton Test Vov. Okay. Let's just have a look at Sivkot Yud Dalet. Just before that, so if we continue from where we left off, Nagul tag. The Shulchan Aruch mentioned that Sofrim are noig to put tagim on other letters as well. I mentioned that we're noig to put a tag on one tag on each of the letters Bedek Chaya. There's also some other tagging the MISHNA Berura talks about. Nagul tag between we're now on the fourth bottom line. Nagul tag between oises aches mevad elu v'hem b'skoim betul b'shem hashimush o rabo b'shem o Rambam. They mentioned in the shemush rabba. And the shemush rabba, we mentioned before the Teffillen, the shemush rabba, which some Kubolim are known to put on a mincha, the Teffillen and the shemush rabba. We already mentioned one difference in the order of the parishes. Right? They go from right to left in the other direction to ours. Ours go right to left. The order of the parishes, Kadesh, Voyo Kaviacho is put right to left in order of the person facing the person with the Teffillen. According to the Shemush Rabba, it's all from right to left in order of the person wearing the Teffillen. Another main difference is the tagging. There are a whole load of extra tagging, the tagging of the Shemush Rabba, which is what the MISHNA Berura is mentioning here. The tagging of him tagging Gedolim, actually Dakim Sheskakal Ois, the Teffillen, whenever sees a parish of the Shemush Rabba, we'll see lots of tagging. It looks very different to our Teffillen because of all the extra crowns on the letters. Okay. We're not allowed to put them on, but in the Teffillen, the Shemush Rabba one will see them. Okay, let's move on now. Let's move on to the MISHNA Berura Cotton Test Vov. We're now on the top line of the next page. In the MISHNA Berura Cotton Test Vov, the Shulchan Aruch wrote that if one didn't put any tagging on, any crowns on the letter Shatnez Getz, it's not possible. Okay? We mentioned if they are tagging and they're connected or they're disconnected, it's worse. But if they're no tagging, it's fine. Says the MISHNA Berura, V'habach poisel bezeh. The Bach argues on the Shulchan Aruch and writes if one doesn't have the tag of Shatnez Getz, the Teffillen are posel. The Ma'akiv says the Bach. V'gam agrobe v'yoroi miyashiv l'kol echad miyashitus. Maybe how about poskim the machamim bezeh. The Gra also brings many opinions that are machmir. Alkein ma'anochen ma'oid lochush lezeh. Therefore, one should definitely be very careful about this halacha. U'lesakna ma'achakach v'tikun mahani afilim t'nim mezuzos. And therefore, one should definitely add the tagging if they aren't there. And one can add them. There's no problem with shaloi kisidron. There's no problem of writing the letters in the correct order. All the letters are there and they are whole. If one's missing tagging, one can add them on afterwards. Even without the tagging, the letters have the correct form on them. So, even though we pass in that the tagging on the market, if one didn't have tagging, the Teffillen are kosher. However, one should definitely make sure that one has tagging because the Bach writes that they are posel, and the Gra says that many poskim hold this way, and therefore there should definitely be the tagging on the letters. Okay. Fine, we finish now Siman Lamed Vov. If one has a look now, under the MISHNA Berura here, it starts something with Mishnas Sofrim. Okay? So Mishnas Sofrim, it continues for another few pages, and we'll see a few different pages of Mishnas Sofrim. Okay, this is all the MISHNA Berura writing to us it explains to us how to write the letters. He goes through each letter and explains how to write the letters. Okay, we're not going to go through it. I'm just going to summarize in very short a couple of different points about writing the letters. Okay? The letters are written in a very exact form. Right? Every part of every letter is defined exactly how to write it. Every corner is defined as being either square or round. One has to know whether it should be square or round. If a sofa writes sloppily, it can come out wrong. It's very easy to, by mistake, square up to have a little point on a corner, even if it's not entirely square. But if it has a point to it, it's not round anymore. Okay? It's very important that the corners are square or round. Some changes are ma'akev. Some of the dikdukim of the letters are ma'akev, and some of them are not ma'akev b'diavad. Some passel between, some don't. With the squaring off the corners, round in the corners, some of them can passel the letter or not passel the letter. It's very important that they are square or round. If there's a problem, one has to take it to a sofa or rav to find out what the halacha is, if they're kosher or possible. For example, a reish is round. If the reish is square, it's not a reish, it's a dalet. Okay? A kaf has to be round. If a kaf is square, it could be a base. It depends if it's the top corner, bottom corner, both corners. Right? It's very important that the letters are square where they're supposed to be square, round where they're supposed to be round. Okay? We already mentioned that on the shin, for example. I mentioned that the three branches of the shin, the right branch and the middle branch, the top of them are rounded, whereas the left branch is square. Right? Because the left one is the one where we put the tag in. So the left one has to be square, the other two are rounded. This is the two of all the letters of shemoneh-esrei case where we have tag in. Only the left one is squared off. Okay? Okay. All the letters have a head. A vav is not just a line. A final nun is not just a line. A yud is not just a dot. They all have a head and then something coming down from the head. Right? It's very important. Again, if a sofa writes too quickly, haphazardly, right, it just writes a line coming down. Right, it has to have a head to the letter. It has to have a head and a body. Some of the heads are heads that look like vovs, meaning there's a difference between a head which looks like a vov and a head that looks like a zayin. A head that looks like a vov, the body of the letter is connected to the end of the head, and the head is rounded. A head that looks like a zayin, the body comes out the middle of the head, and the head is squared off. Okay? So if one looks at the nun, for example, it has the head of a zayin. Do you have any of the picture of the letter? Does he have the pictures? Yeah. So you look at the nun has a head of a zayin, right? Okay, both the nun and the final nun has the head of a zayin, right? These are things that we're not so familiar with. The way we write a nun and nun, we don't write it like that. We don't write a head of a zayin, right? And when we write block, but it has to be written with a head of a zayin, right? If you look at a final tzadi has a head of a zayin. The letters all have to have the right heads to them. Okay? Here we come on to the main difference. One of the main differences, not the main difference. One of the main differences between Teffillen of Rashi, and the Ksav Beis Yosef and Ksav Ari. We mentioned the Nusach Ashkenaz we use Ksav Beis Yosef, Nusach Sfard use Ksav Ari. Okay? One of the main differences in the Teffillen is the heads of shemoneh-esrei gets, the letters shemoneh-esrei gets. In Ksav Beis Yosef, they have a head of a zayin. The leftmost head is the head of a zayin. You look at the letters here, shemoneh-esrei gets, any of the letters, shin, ayin, tes, nun, zayin, tzadi, and nun, you will see the head has a head of a zayin. Okay? Whereas Teffillen which are written with the Ksav of the Ari, have the head of a vov. And this is one of the main differences. Okay? One should definitely try and stick to one's Masorah. One can, if one doesn't, one can use Teffillen of the other Masorah. It's not ma'akev b'diavad. If one hasn't got one's own, one can. The most problematic change is the tzadi. The most problematic change is the tzadi. If one looks at a tzadi, the right head of the tzadi. The right head of the tzadi is a yud in Ksav Beis Yosef. Right? If one looks at the right head of a tzadi, it's a yud. Okay? In Ksav Ari, It's a backwards yud. As if you have the picture of Ksav Ari, you might have a picture at the bottom of the page.
It only has the...
Doesn't even have the bottom of the page? So they didn't do it. Okay, it's a backwards yud. Meaning, that if you can see the yud here, the head extends to the left of the line coming. The line comes up from the body of the tzadi, and the head extends to the left. Right? Then Ksav Ari extends to the right. Right there. It's a backwards yud. This, according to Shem Zalman, this is also not makiv, it's fine. According to the different opinions brought b'shem the Chazon Ish, according to some, the Chazon Ish held it's possible. Right? This is the biggest problem for someone who has the minhag of Ksav Beis Yosef. Right? To use Teffillen with Ksav Ari, with a backward sadi, according to the Chazon Ish, it's possible. Okay? So this is the biggest problem. If Shem Zalman holds it's okay. And definitely the other way around, for people who use Ksav Ari, to put on Teffillen and Ksav Beis Yosef, that's definitely fine. Okay, this is the biggest problem, the backward sadi. There's a whole sefer written about it called Tzidkas HaTzadik by Rabbi Friedman, where he proves that it's kosher. Even if Chazon Ish holds it's kosher, it's not possible with the Eved. But there are those who are machmir for it that it is possible. Okay, so that's the biggest problem, the biggest difference between the letters. There are many other small differences, and there's also Ksav Velish, the Sfardi Ksav, which also has many different small differences between it and the Ashkenazi Ksav. Everyone should write it, make sure to buy Teffillen, which according to his Ksav. And as I said, the biggest confusing thing is for Ashkenazim to realize that Ksav Bet Yosef is the Ashkenazi Ksav. That's the biggest confusion in the whole thing. Once Ashkenazi writes in the Davos Nusach, Ashkenazi one gets Ksav Bet Yosef. Okay, so we'll continue. Mitzvah Hashem, Siman Lamed Zayin.
MISHNA was written by the...
The MISHNA Berura was written by the MISHNA Berura. Right? It's a whole history to it. It's based on the Shulchan Aruch and the Kesef HaSofer, and it comes back, it goes all the way back to Beis Yosef, to the Baruch She'omar who we talked about, right? The Alpha Beisa. But this is the wording of the MISHNA Berura.
It's just interesting. He put it in the middle here. He could have put it at the end of Teffillen.
Right. He writes it here because as we just saw in this Siman Lamed Vav, this is the Siman where he writes that we should write in the Ksiva Tama. It has to be written in the correct sound by Sofer, written very accurately, and this is what therefore he tells us exactly how to write each letter accurately. Okay?
Do we pick up tomorrow or Tuesday? After the next section?
After the MISHNA Berura, Siman Lamed Zayin. Yeah, so after MISHNA Berura.
How often?